Welcome to Bass University Live, everybody. We got one of our good buddies is with us, J Dog, Jay Security, angler of the year, points leader right now, and he's one of the most consistent anglers on tour. Rich, I'm going to argue he's one of the most consistent anglers ever in his first 3 years out on tour. He's in that conversation, and we're glad to have him with us, see where his head's at.
Yeah.
Talk about, man, how are you doing this crap, dude?
All right.
Rich, how are you able to be that consistent? How's he able to do it?
I don't know, but I want to know, right? Because that's like that is the magic in a bottle, the lightning, the sauce that I would say every fisherman would say if there's one thing they could just capture and be able to repeat is like there's times where and everybody goes through it for longer stints, shorter stints, whatever, but just that feeling of every time you put the boat in the water, it's not a question of, am I going to find him? It's just straight to the business, smashing, putting fish in the boat, every time you go out there. I mean, that feeling of being locked in, dialed, it's lightning in a bottle. And he's got it right now, man. It's really, really cool. Cool to see. I mean, he's like, too cool, two shoes. He's like just easy, calm, cool, relaxed, and just keeps on performing. And like you said, Pete, he's a Bass U instructor. And I mean, if somebody's got their PhD and staying consistent right now, it's this dude. So,
well, speaking of lightning in a bottle, I am excited to announce Thump Gel is partnered with Bass University, and really, really cool. Monty Knight, longtime competitor, of mine out on the FLW tour. We were members on the old Evinrude Pro staff. I don't know if Jay even remembers. He said the kids are so young these days, but do you remember that motor that called Evinrude 100 years ago? But no, it was great. We're friends. He's built this amazing product that really performs exceptionally well, drawing strikes that you can't get otherwise, in addition to just its ability to stay put on your baits for so long. And I know you've seen it, you've heard it being talked about, but we're excited to be partnering with Thump Gel, and we'll be talking to you guys and filming about our experiences with it, especially in the ages of, man, we're looking at now sight fishing. We always wanted that something extra that we could put on our baits to get that fish to strike. Now we're looking at them on sonar, and we need that little something that's going to motivate that fish, that's going to trigger a strike, a feeding strike. And this is a great product for that. And it also is a really great, the colorization components of it. If you can change colors, modify your baits that way, because it does such a great job of adding flash, flake, and color to your baits. So it's a really exceptional fish attractant. I want you guys to check it out. Thump Gel. We're going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff. We'll have some opportunities at the pro member benefits section of Bass University coming soon. And I want you guys to go check it out and take a look. I want to thank Monty and the folks at Thump Gel for coming on over and partnering with Bass University. Great to have you guys with us. It's great to be working with an old friend. We used to work together so many years ago, and here we've been in this business a long time, and it's great to see the tremendous success that comes along with building a great product like the folks at Thump Gel have done. But very excited about that, and we'll keep you guys posted. We'll put up some links for the product right now so that you guys can go and take a look at it. I know it's available in a million different places, so we'll make it easy for you guys to get. Really busy weekend, Rich. Oh my God, the fishing just is out of control. I can't say it's been very, very good for me as far as fish catches. We had some flashes of greatness. Jake competed in a high school tournament on Friday with the folks down there in the Upper Chesapeake. Really appreciate those guys putting together such a great. What is the exact name of that club, Rich?
High School Upper Bay Bassin.
Thank you for all the work that you guys did for that. Appreciate you guys. Jake caught
Absolutely.
a couple of nice fish in a tough tournament. No limits were caught. Surprisingly, considering the previous tournament they had down there, everybody caught a limit. And that's how bad things have changed. You know, the watercolor's off, the water temperature dropped, and the kids were challenged, but they caught them. And congratulations to the winner. And and then Jake and I continued to fish. Shout out to the boys at Susquehanna Fishing Tackle. And by the way, thank you, Rich, for your volunteering for the kids and taking kids. Yeah. I think that's an amazing thing that you do, and you help out wherever you can. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man, it's important to you know, that's where the longevity in our sport comes from, is, you know, the next generation. It's not always about yourself. You gotta, if you want to keep growing things, you got to start from the ground. And it's fun watching, you know, or you know, helping these kids or coaching them and kind of teaching them along, because the development happens in real time. Like, it's insane. Like the progression that you'll see from, you know, of an angler that's 14 years old that has never done something before, how quickly they can adapt and learn. Where, you know, the other side of things, you know, you spend a day in the boat with an adult that you're doing the same kind of work with, essentially. It's very different. It's just, and that part of it has been pretty cool to see as well. And you know, obviously we're in the business of teaching people how to fish, so it's been an enjoyable experience. But yeah, shout out to Jerry Hodge, High School Upper Bay Bassin. He puts the program on, and yeah, keep it rolling. And like you said, thanks to the guys at Susquehanna Fishing Tackle for sending us out fishing on Sunday. That was awesome. And yeah,
that was unbelievable winds. We had sustained 20 to 30 mile an hour winds with gusts, and we had, what a huge turnout for their big event.
Absolutely,
their Shimano event. So it was very, very cool. See 200 boats on the Upper Bay, and the waves were big. And shout out to the winners who caught 19 pounds of bass out there that day, which is one of the lower winning weights that we've seen on the Upper Bay in quite some time. But the conditions
in a couple of years.
Yeah, this time of year we're typically in the mid 20s, somewhere low to mid 20s. So Jake and I battled. I know you did too, Rich. And we had fun out there. We caught a lot of fish, a lot of short fish, but we didn't even manage our limit that day. So but it was fun. What an amazing event. And I'm watching Jake develop right in front of me as well. And he's getting better every day. And we're having fun going down that road. We're going to be at Tri-State Championship on Lake Anna. And we'll be right back on the bay this Saturday at the Chester County Opens.
Awesome.
We're going to give that a go. But
good deal.
But I want to let's bring them in, man. We have the hottest guy in fishing right now, the AOI leader, our J-Dog, who we affectionately call him at Bass U. And man, it's amazing, Jay. You've had amazing year after year after year, and now everything you touch seems to turn to gold so far this year. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a season so far. You've talked about it earlier. I don't know how I've been so consistent, the reasons I've been so consistent. I really can't put my exact finger on why it's been so good. It's just honestly been one of those dream years for me so far. And with 3 tournaments to go, I really hope it continues.
Well, we are going to dive in. We are going to press and try to figure out what is going on, because it's amazing. I took a little time. I went back in time to look at some amazing careers that you were mirroring by your first 3 years on tour. And there's a few key names that just rise to the top from their first 3 seasons on tour, banking top 10s. And that's what Jay has done, guys. He's been in the top 10 every single year in the AOY race. And now, of course, you're leading it. This is your 4th season. You're leading it right now. The first one, Bill Dance. Bill
Nice.
Dance dominated. He dominated it, and he won. He won, and it took 2/3 in his first 3 seasons
Really?
on tour. That's Bill Dance, Jay Securit in the same conversation. Who else? Who else? Roland Martin.
There we go.
That's right. That's right. Roland. Now, you know, he did pretty good. He was second in his first year out, and then back-to-back AOY titles in his next 2 seasons. Of course, I think he has 9 AOY titles total. So he's got that record, I think, probably locked up for life. That's going to be a hard one to get. Who else? Who else, Rich? Who else could possibly have been in the top 10 in their first 3 seasons on tour? Give me your guess. This is like this is a softball, man. KVD. That's right. He had 7th, 3rd, and his 3rd year on tour, he got his AOY. So they are 3 amazing anglers that all top 10, just like Jay Securit. It's rarely done, and you're right on pace with those guys. Here's some names that I also checked out. Check this out, Jay. The guys that had really good first 3 years, but not quite as good as yours. One of which, Greg Hackney, right? He had 2 top 10s and then an 11th place finish. You clipped them with your 10th place finish. So he got 2 out of 3. Who else got 2 out of 3? Ott Defo. You know Ott, and Ott's a killer. He had a 13th place finish, but 2 top 10s to go along with that. Here's another long-standing super champion, AOY and Classic winner, Mark Davis. He had a 13th place finish and 2 top 10s. So you outperformed those 3 in your first 3 years, Jay. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, those are some pretty big names growing up that I watched probably every other day on TV, or whether it was videos or whatever it was, to be pretty much put next to in the standings is a pretty neat deal so far in my career. I'm not gonna lie.
It's neat to watch. It's so fun because you're a great speaker. You're such a great instructor at Bass U, and to see you thriving like this is phenomenal. And here I have a couple more names that I want to share with you for a little bit of a different kind of twist.
Right.
These guys are guys that I compare them with your current. Like, who else in the last 3 seasons is better than you? Like, I mean, you're at the top of the list. Could there be anybody that has a better track record than you in the last 3 seasons? And here's a couple. Here's a couple notables. Brandon Lester. And that kind of, I know Brandon's good. He's one of our instructors. But I was shocked. I was surprised to see what an exceptional performer he is. But he has a 2nd, a 7th last year, and then he has an 11th place finish. So you outperformed Brandon Lester by as far as top 10s go, which is very, very impressive. Here's a guy that I was also surprised at was Drew Cook, who we know is exceptional, and fishes a little. Maybe he does a lot of sight fishing, maybe not known for forward-facing prowess, but he has 2 top 10s and a 13th place finish. So you've outperformed Drew Cook in the world of top 10s. But here's who do you think got you? There's one guy I found. Now this is not a comprehensive list. I did some research. I may have missed one guy here and there. I don't think I did, but I may have. But there is one guy, one very notable guy that has outperformed you in the last 3 years. Do you know who it is?
Oh, I want to say Patrick Walters.
That's a good guess. But now that you mentioned that, Justin, go check Patrick Walters AOYs, because I didn't check him. That was a good one to check. John Cox.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
John Cox, not a forward-facing unit on his boat.
Yeah.
He's finished fifth, and second in AOY in the last 3 seasons.
Wow. Yeah,
that's under the radar.
That's wild.
That is wild. That is crazy. But you're up there. You have a 10th, a 6th, and a 7th. You have 3 top 10s, and you're currently leading the points. So you're you're in the conversation as having one of the best beginning seasons in history. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I know your initial comment was you just don't know how it's going on, but let's try to figure it out a little bit, or at least talk about it, because you got to put your boat on the water. You got to get prepared. Let's dive in there a little bit. Like what does preparation look like for you? How do you approach a season? Do you target bodies of water to pre-fish? Do you do a lot of map study? What's your preparation for the season?
Well, first and foremost, I live in Wisconsin, so we have a long off season. When the schedule comes out, I'm dissecting every single lake I can, as long as I can, as much as I can get into, whether it's, top lures that have done good there that time of the year, whether it's certain sections of the lake that I want to focus on, that I already know I want to focus on before I get to the place. That kind of, studying that I do at home definitely helps. I wouldn't say it's the reason I do good in all these events, but it gives me a good starting point. Like for example, on Lake Fork, you can do, there's so much information on Lake Fork. But for example, specifically I fished in the Little Caney Creek portion of Lake Fork, and, that just goes back to history showing like, hey, in May time of the year when the fish get offshore, generally, the first time in the year, that area plays very well that time of the year. So, that's kind of what I did when I was at home. I was like, hey, I want to focus on this area. I want to do a lot of graphing, kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and figure out where these fish are set up just in this section. I truly feel like I fish the best when I can pick an area of the lake like that Little Caney section where it's not that big, and I can put the trolling motor down and graph around for the entire day, or maybe it be 2 or 3 days of practice. If I can just, dissect one singular area on a lake, I feel like I do the best in that area, because even if I have to fish by a lot of our competitors, I feel like I can outfish them just because I know that section of the lake better than they do, because I've spent so much time in there, just knowing every little detail, where every little stump is, every little rock pile, or whatever it may be, or how a point sets up. If there's fish that set up on one little tip and they don't set up on another little tip better or something like that. But that's just kind of how I go about it first and foremost at home. And then when it comes to the actual tournament, that's when things start to change. You start to realize, okay, this area maybe wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
The water's too hot over here, blah, 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 for what I want to do. And also I have to give a shout out to, so I room with 4 other guys. I room with Kyle Patrick, Wesley Gore, and Alex Redwine on the Elite Series. And we share a lot of information during the events, especially during practice and stuff like that. So that also helps me considerably throughout an event. You have to realize these places are massive. When you have other heads to kind of discuss and at least get an idea of what's going on in an area, it helps you break down that area a little bit further. Like, hey, there's an offshore bite going on over here, something like that. Not necessarily, hey, you need to fish this point, blah, 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 but just getting an idea of like, hey, there's a punch and bite going on over here, something like that. It just gives you ideas to expand and at least try throughout the day, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's very hard in your own mind to constantly keep trying new things. I get stuck on fishing, my own ways. I always want to do it my own way. And I, obviously don't expand all the time. Like, hey, I need to throw this, I need to throw that, I need to do this. That's probably my biggest downfall, is just picking up different baits throughout practice. I always like to have, my, core 3 or 4 techniques that I like to throw. And if they don't work, I keep trying them and it kind of burns me sometimes. So I do need that extra hand at times, just saying like, hey, go try this. Maybe it's not a waypoint or anything like that, but hey, just go try
Mhm.
this pattern and see if it works in this section of the lake.
That's great. I mean, you guys can share like that. Not
Yeah.
everybody can. I mean, it gets pretty competitive out there, so
Right.
that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I feel like we have a pretty tight knit group there in our house, and we all trust each other, and we're all on the same page, and we all have the same goals. And at the end of the day, we don't. I know a lot of these guys, they take it so seriously. A lot of these places that we go to, it's so tight knit. But like I said, like with us, it's very laid back. We can kind of share whatever, and we know that we're not gonna hurt each other. At the end of the day, if Kyle's catching them over here, if Wesley's catching them over there, I'm not going to go there and go catch his fish. That's just not how it works. We kind of all just find our own deals and do our own thing, and it works well that way.
And that's fantastic, and we see it a lot with guys that are able to work together. So that's a pretty tight group of
Yeah.
really good anglers. So yeah, that's fantastic. The you talked about idling around. Are you doing this at pre-practice? Are you getting intimate with areas then, or are you dedicating your actual practice days to just scouring a place?
So, for example, I haven't pre-practiced one event this year. I'm not a big pre-practicing guy. I like to find what I like to find during the tournament just because it's present. I know that the fish are going to be doing that. There's only 3 days, give or take. In pre-practice, I mean, you got a whole month before the tournament. Those fish are most likely to move. Um, so I'm not a huge fan of that. The only reason I would like to pre-practice, and obviously this year I will pre-practice on lacrosse quite a bit just because of the position that I'm in. Um, but the only reason I like to pre-practice is just to get around, get some tracks on the place and just see the lake. Not necessarily find the fish. I just want to see the lake, see how it sets up, see where the water's cleaner, where it's dirtier, where it's going to warm up quicker, stuff like that. But for example, with the whole scanning thing on Fork, so I'm not much of an offshore fisherman as far as like deep cranks go and stuff like that. So I'm kind of all new to that. I wouldn't say completely new, but I've had some experience doing it. And on Fork, when I found that deep school that I found during the tournament, I had graphed every single point in Little Caney Creek. There wasn't a point that I hadn't graphed. So I knew what every single point looked like. I knew what it had on it. Maybe not that particular day. I didn't know what it had on it, but I knew what kind of structure was there, how it's set up, blah, blah, blah. So in the tournament, when I would actually go fish these points, pretty much every point that I thought had potential had a boat on it. So I was like, dang, like I was kind of like a little bit discouraged by that whole deal just because I knew fork fish small and, the bass
Mhm.
just get on obvious places out there. And I had went in the morning and caught a couple bedfish. So I kind of got settled in, caught some nice ones in the morning. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go try out my deep skills for a little bit and just see how it goes. But that was also at the same time where everybody was on all the points. So I was like, dang. But there was one point in particular that nobody was on. And I knew it maybe had a couple fish on it. You don't really know. I mean, it's Lake Fork, there's bass everywhere. Every obvious point has fish on it. It just depends on how many of them are actually there. So I was like, you know what, heck with it. I'll pull up to this point. I know no one's on it. It's probably no good, blah, blah, blah. And turns out that's where I end up catching almost all my weight off of was that one point that nobody wanted to fish. And I think the reason nobody wanted to fish that point was just because there was so much standing timber on it. You would throw a crankbait out and there wasn't maybe you'd get one clean cast out of every 10 casts that I would throw on that point where I wouldn't get hung up on a limb or something like that with that crankbait. So that was probably one of the reasons why nobody fished it and why I didn't think it had much potential, just because you could hardly see what was going on with all the timber on it.
I remember watching you deal with that timber.
Oh my gosh.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
well, that worked out good. I know.
Yeah.
Man, that's fortunate. We just fished a 200 boat tournament, and it just, it reminds me of that. Like you gotta when you fish a big tournament like that, or a small lake like Fork, you got to, half of the places you want to go to are gone.
You can't fish. Yeah. Right.
You know,
that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah, that was an amazing tournament, and that was fun to watch. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know what you were thinking, but I'm interested. Here, going to Orange next with flooded conditions. That had to give you cause for concern going to that tournament. Like, how am I going to score points here with such a unusual condition?
Yeah, I mean, so I at least had previous knowledge. We had been there once before, so I was there. I think it was my second or third year. I think it was my second year on the elites, and I fished one place close to the ramp in that tournament and kind of got a feel for at least the general area nearby the ramp. There's like a couple of bayous by the ramp. One's called Adams Bayou, one's called Cow Bayou. I figured those would play, so I practiced there, and it wasn't happening. And I kind of knew that throughout practice. You were hardly getting any bites. I'd maybe have one or two keepers in like 3 hours. And we're talking just like 13-inch fish. And I was like, okay, this isn't happening. And that's where, we go back to like that research that I talked about in the off season that I had at home. Previous years, a lot of fish got caught out of that Taylor's Bayou area, which is a good ways from our takeoff. I mean, it's probably 45-minute run on good conditions. And so I decided to spend majority of my practice over there just because a lot of the stuff I had fished that previous year just wasn't happening. And I didn't try and force it, but I really kind of did, and it just wasn't going on. So I obviously spent most of my practice a long ways away from takeoff, and I didn't have a great practice. Obviously a lot of the structure over there had been fished. It's just so obvious. It's not a huge area. And obviously our guys are not, I mean, they know what's going on. There was probably 3/4 of our field fished over there. Like, they knew what was going on. They knew where the good water was. They knew where the good fishing was. So you really had to, I guess, slow down and just dissect your areas even more thoroughly throughout that event. And I kind of knew that the first day going into it. So when I got there the first day of the tournament, I quickly realized that it was going to be a zoo. I mean, there was a lot of us over there, a lot of us running around, a lot of us muddying up the banks. That was a big thing. The banks would get super muddy, come about 11 o'clock. So what I did was I pretty much picked an oxbow, which is basically just a little offshoot off the main channel, because I figured that wouldn't dirty up as much. And I had a couple bites in there in practice, but it wasn't anything, to get too excited about. A couple 12-inchers, whatever. And basically throughout that entire oxbow, I looked for anything out of the ordinary. So where I caught my first biggest fish that first day of the tournament, it was a giant mat that was blown up on a tree that it almost extended halfway out into the oxbow, which was the deepest point that a fish could get on that still had hard bottom. And that just happened to be where the biggest fish that probably was in that oxbow was sitting at that time, and I caught it. And then the light bulb went off that day. And when I caught that fish under that mat on that tree, I instantly hit every tiny little mat that had a little blown up piece of brush on it or whatever. And I end up catching almost 11 pounds that day by like 10:30 in the morning. And I was honestly like, wow, like, I think I figured it out. Like, I think, I could maybe run this for the rest of the event and catch them like that. But I quickly realized that there wasn't that much of that throughout the entire system. And a lot of what was there, other guys were fishing as well. So I kind of just got the first, dibs at what was there in that oxbow that I was fishing. And then after that day, it kind of petered out for me. But, I still put together, I think, 4 fish on day 2 for 5-something pounds, which doesn't sound amazing.
That's amazing for orange.
For there, catching a 5-pound bag was pretty decent. And then day 3, I almost caught 6 pounds for my best 5. And that was also a really good day. It kept me in that 25th place spot with 5 pounds, 10 ounces. It sounds crazy to say, but just catching a limit there and just catching over 5 pounds literally kept you where you were at. So But obviously that, almost 11-pound day really catapulted me up where I needed to be. It kind of sucks that I couldn't stay in the top 10 after that big day, but I'll take it. I mean, to catch those two, better than average size fish out there and kind of ride that out, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I want to do is take a top 30 and get out of there and focus on the next event.
What did the mats consist of that were blown up? Like, was it all grass shavings or just all different kinds of aquatic vegetation? What was going on there?
Yeah, it was like a mix of what I believe was hyacinth and then a lot of just blown up random garbage, water bottles,
Nice.
I mean, alligator grass,
Yeah.
basketballs. It didn't really matter. There was there was all sorts of stuff in the water.
I mean, there's something to be taken from that, though. It's like the fish is just like, I don't care what it is. It's giving me shade, homie. It's
right,
110 degrees out here. I'm hanging out in the shade.
That was the most unique body of water I've ever been to in my entire life. I mean, there's stuff you see out there that you would never think a bass would sit on or get on or, do, but you just fish it and you catch fish off of it. And yeah, I mean, I caught fish under like water bottle trash mats, like straight water bottles in practice.
Yes. We're fishing the Delaware River like we do.
Yeah, right.
We're very familiar with those types of mats. Those fish don't care. A mat's a mat,
Yep.
Yeah.
They got them.
Yep. I was watching. I happened to be watching when you landed on that 3-pounder.
Oh, nice.
First fish. And, going into that, knowing that the points are what they are and to get that, it's like catching a freaking 10-pounder in most places.
Yeah, that was like catching a 10 or 11-pounder on Lake Fork. That was like me catching that 914 there.
Yeah.
That first 3-pounder I caught was the exact same difference maker that I caught on Fork. And I knew that, going into that first fish. And it also just gives you the ultimate confidence. When you get a 3-pounder in the boat, you just know you have to fill out your limit with just some 1-pounders, It's, yeah. So
what was also interesting to me in that tournament is how well, like, all the scopers did. Well, there were several really, we all thought when we saw their name pop up, oh, they must be offshore, staring at them, and they all had flipping sticks in their hands. That was pretty
yeah,
and impressive.
Yeah, right. That's honestly the whole flipping deal. That's like I might even be more comfortable doing the flipping deal than I am live scoping. That's just how I grew up on the river at home, on the Wisconsin River. Like I grew up with a 3/8 ounce tungsten and a flipping hook in my hand and some braided line. I mean, that's how I grew up fishing. Anything with current, anything like that, smallmouth, largemouth on the Wisconsin River. That's how I grew up. So I was in my comfort zone there. Man, I flipped everything in sight. Lost a couple fish that I would have liked to have seen, but I felt good there. It just, after a while, I'm not gonna lie, it definitely got old when I made 17,000 flips and in some pretty good areas and didn't come out with a 2-pounder. It was pretty discouraging.
17,000. That's about, that's pretty good math. I know that feeling. Same, Like, when is one going to actually be under this?
Yeah, right.
That river challenged everybody. The weights are always low, but that was probably one of the lowest weights because you guys had the flood.
I think it was. Did it end up being the lowest winning weight ever?
Other than the Pittsburgh 3-day classic, I think it was.
Yeah.
The weights were lower.
Lowest elite winning weight ever, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be right. Seems to me George Cochran won one of those really low weight tournaments. I forget, was it on the, I don't know where it was. I can't remember. Maybe Illinois River or some
probably
place like that. But that was tough. That was a tough derb. It came through with flying colors, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, when the momentum is on your side, it's almost like you can't stop it. That's what it seems like when we're looking at you is you you have a choice of going left or right, and you pick the right choice every time.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of, I go back to like my last couple of years where obviously I came close to possibly winning Angler of the Year, but it wasn't a reality. Like when you're 50 or 60 points down, you're kind of, I want to say you're not in it, but it's pretty tough to come back from that. And I've always had one or two tournaments where I took that wrong turn, where I took that wrong, just one decision in that entire event that I could have changed that would have completely flipped the Angler of the Year race. And this year I haven't made that wrong turn yet, and that's the difference maker, and that's why I'm in the position I'm in. And I sure hope I don't make that wrong turn in the next couple three.
I think you just have to let it happen. You know, it's almost like you got to let it come to you. If you can't force it. You have to let it happen.
That's what my dad told me on the drive home. He's like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing that you can do that's going to change the outcome or change what happens throughout the event. It's such a long season. There's so many days on the water. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do.
I think you're right. And it's almost like when you win a tournament, and you've experienced that, is like you almost can't screw it up. Like you try to, you know.
Mm-hmm. That too. Same deal. Yeah.
Yeah, you make mistakes, and it's just it's a momentum thing, and it's interesting. It's interesting to see. But I want to ask you about this, because I mean, I'm kind of sidestepping here, but it just occurred to me that there's been all this controversy popping up again. What's Bassmaster's going to do with Sonar next year? Has there any decisions been made? Have you heard any information?
I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, I haven't heard what they're going to end up doing. I mean, whatever they end up doing, hopefully it's the right decision. I guess it's not my decision to make. I mean, we just watched an entire event get won without it last week, so I'm not really too concerned on, I guess, what they're planning on doing. Hopefully they make the right one, and it's the right one for the future of the industry.
Well, from your fishing perspective, what would you like to see?
I mean, I would like to see no change as far as what we had this year, in my opinion. I think what we had this year is really nice. I just think they just need to make the schedule the way they want it. I think we go to the Sabine River. You have a great event there where, it's just a grinder tournament. Guys got to figure it out as you go. And for example, when we go to the Mississippi River, it'll be the same way. There'll be a lot of top water fishing, stuff like that. A lot of, just grinding it out, stuff like that. And then we go to St. Clair, and you can utilize live scope and catch some big smallmouth. I'd hate to see it without it on a place like that, just because it would just be more random, in my opinion. A lot of guys would just kind of be casting around, and you'd luck into a 6-pounder or something like that, where now is when we have it, we can really dial it in and really just, you have a reason behind an area on why you caught 26 pounds there, where, without it, you're kind of shooting in the dark, randomly just throwing at places, not really sure why those fish are living there.
Right. Well, I guess are we gonna get a decision this week or something? I'm hearing a lot.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah. I've been I'm advanced TikTok user, so
yeah, I know.
First,
it's such a great source for information and validity. I'm with you. But dude,
of TikTok, Rich, how dare you?
The industry,
it's all facts over there.
I don't even know. I don't really want to even go down this road, but the things are all right now. Like, we got one league that said no. Cool. We got one league that's limiting it to periods, and we got one league that is allowing the anglers to utilize it under some capacity of restrictions, as far as not having 47 transducers on your boat. It's good. Right. You for the consumer and the watcher, you can get it, and you can consume bass fishing right now in whichever format you want. So, like, I hope they don't change it either. I think
I honestly
need to get rid of the controversy.
Yep, I feel the same way. I get tired of all the whining.
Yes.
basically, and all the negativity out there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing, and I think it's spectacular to see how some magical patterns and areas that we would have never could have won a tournament. Yeah.
I like that point. I just like the fact that you know why you won there. Like,
Right.
I feel like without the technology, you don't really realize how good that spot actually is, or like why you won there, what the little details about it. That's the coolest part I think about it. Like when I won on St. Clair, like I could tell you every single detail of why I won that event, on why that smallmouth was set up on that grass line, and the way they ran it back and forth. It was just so neat, you know, just seeing the nature of how those fish use that structure that, you know, you would never even know.
Yep. And for the viewers appeal, like the fans of the sport, you know, watching a fishing tournament, right? It's fun watching guys set the hook with big rod, big weights, braided line, all that type of stuff, setting the hook on a swim jig. But guess what? Live scope helps you see more of that too. It's not always just flying around pinging a minnow in the middle of the lake. So it's, you know, there's a lot of different levels to it.
Yep. And I was, like I said, as I opened the show, John Cox, not even on purpose, not using it. And he's got to be one of the top performers on Bassmasters, if not the top performer over the last 3 years. So
crazy.
It is crazy stuff. I want to go back to something you said earlier, and I wanted you to dive in because I'm still trying to figure out how you're able to be so consistent, as we all are watching you and loving cheering you on. You talked about your 3 or 4 confidence baits, confidence techniques that you fall back on or go to right out of the gate. What are those 3?
Oh man, I mean it's all based on, I guess, where we're going. So like for example, let's say we'll just talk about the Sabine River just because that's where I just came from. So I'm gonna have basically, I'll just go with 3 there. So I'm gonna have a jig, a Texas rig, and a wacky rig Senko on my deck. Those are the 3 main staples of bass fishing, I feel like. And that's what I grew up fishing at home. If they didn't bite the jig, I picked up the Texas rig with a little bit lighter weight. If they didn't bite that, I picked up the wacky worm and caught the fish on that. You know, so just straight keeping it so simple is something that I do in my boat a lot. And I have been expanding on, you know, some newer techniques and stuff recently. But as far as like keeping it simple, when I have my best tournaments, it's when I keep it super simple. Like at Hartwell, that might have been the simplest tournament I think I might have ever fished on the Elite Series. Like going into the event, I knew what I had found. I knew what I was going to throw. It was going to be a drop shot and a wacky worm, and that's what I caught every single fish on pretty much. So just keeping it absolutely super simple is the way I do well.
That's and we've heard that so much over the years that the super successful people, they eliminate all that distraction, and you're doing that too. Let me ask you this: what this year in particular, you've had got to have days that are not going your way, right? Plan A failed, Plan B failed. How do you go about recovering, or how have you recovered from that scenario this year?
Well, let's see, there's probably been 2 days now this year on the Elite Series that I struggled pretty hard. It was day 2 at Okeechobee, and it was day 2 at the Sabine River. Day 2 at Okeechobee, so I had a good day 1. I had 17 something pounds. Knew I just needed to back it up with just a double-digit bag or something like that. And I had a tough day. And the way that I kind of, I guess, got out of that tough day, I only ended up weighing 8 pounds that day, but that 8 pounds was pretty big because I didn't have a limit at, it might have been noon that day or something like that. And that's when I pretty much just fell back on what I found previous in practice. So what I mean by that is just little things in practice that I picked up on that I thought I could go catch a 12-incher. It's basically things that going into the tournament you're not going to focus on whatsoever, because for one, they're not going to get you a check. For two, you really don't want to put a 12 or 13-inch bass in your live well. It's just not something you want to do on the Elite Series because you're probably not going to do very well. But it's things that you want to keep in the back of your mind throughout the entire event in case that day happens. And that was day 2 at Lake Okeechobee when I just needed to catch a limit. I needed to catch 8 pounds. So in that case, in the back of my mind, I had 4 or 5 brush piles marked that I knew had some 12 to 13-inch fish in them. And I had a couple 12 or 13-inch fry guarding fish in my back pocket that I could go catch and just get in the boat and just get me comfortable. And that's what got me through that day 2 of that tournament. Just having that safety blanket of just those couple little areas in the back of my mind that I guess you could call it I had saved for that situation. But at the same time, it's fish that you don't really want to catch. I mean, because in the grand scheme of things, they're just not big enough. I mean, 8 pounds worth of fish in an Elite Series event, like I said, isn't going to do you very well. But when you had a 17-pound day the day before, it's a huge deal. So that's what I fell back on, and that's kind of what got me through. And then, for example, at the Sabine, I was having a brutal day on day number 2 again, and that's when I fell back on the same exact kind of scenario. So I had throughout practice, I'll mark things that I think look fishy. So like, for example, I'll just be going down one of those cut banks on the Sabine River, and I had marked, I think 3 or 4, isolated stumps. They weren't very big. I mean, pretty small, maybe the size of my trolling motor, maybe half of that. And I'd be going down the bank. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. I marked that stump there on day 1 of practice. I'm going to go hit these 4 stumps because I'm struggling right now. I got 2 fish in the box for 3 pounds or whatever it is. I just need to get a bite just to get that confidence back up. Now, day 2 of Sabine, I believe I only caught 4 fish that day, but off of 2 of those stumps I had marked, I caught 2 of my last keepers on in the last hour. And that bailed me out, from that 3 pounds to get up to that 5-something pounds. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but just having that in your back pocket to go fish and just give you confidence. And like I said, these weren't even places that I caught a fish on in practice. It's just places that you think look fishy. It just, in my mind, it gives me the confidence that I'm going to pull up there and catch a fish. Sometimes I hate just going down a bank and just thinking in your mind, like, when am I going to get a bite? When am I going to get a bite? I want to know when I'm going to get a bite. So having those little isolated spots like that have me the chance to catch those fish is what gets me out of those bad situations. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but at least having the confidence that it's gonna is what counts.
You have a calm demeanor, and it's got to help in this situation, because how do you deal with that? It's not my way. I want to break all my rods. You know what I mean?
I might look calm. I'm definitely not that calm in that situation, especially at Sabine on day 2 when I know the whole point situation, and I know I cannot fall. And I know I just need to put a limit in a boat. Like, I'm not calm in that situation. I may look calm, but at the same time, I know I just have to slow down, pick apart what I know is there, and just hope I get the bite before I have to come in to check in. That's all you can do. There's nothing else you can do. And, in my mind, there's no reason to get yourself worked up over nothing that you can't control. As long as you put your bait where you think you're going to get a bite. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it happens, awesome. But yeah.
Control what you can control. How many times have we heard that, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, many times. And that's a big one for our viewers and our watchers listening that are tournament fishermen. I mean, just doing just that, controlling what you can control, like that puts you in such a better place, as far as going out for your day. And like, in those super grinder style tournaments, like sometimes the controlling what you can control doesn't even necessarily have to happen on the water. I mean, it's like just knowing, because when it's so hard to get a bite like that, efficiency becomes like even more paramount than it always is. So like if you know you're going to be, flipping a rage bug, you better have a plan. You better have a box of rage bugs ready to go so that you can pull them. Like just the little things like that can go a long way for sure.
Control what because you can't control the bite. You control your cast, you control your preparation, and you continue to do the right things over and over, and good things will happen. Especially if your last name is Secure.
Yeah.
But all right, we talked about a bad day of tournament fishing. What has been your worst practice this year, and how did you deal with that?
Worst practice this year. Let's think. We've had St. John's, Okeechobee. Who do we have? It was probably the Pasquotank. It was probably my worst practice. I think I got way too spread out that practice, and like I said before, I didn't have that area that I could just live in and like knew so well. So like throughout the tournament, I actually fished day one in the Pasquotank, just close to the ramp, and I think I caught my 3 biggest fish that I had even caught the whole week that first day of the tournament in the first couple hours, and that really settled me in. And then the rest of the day, I somehow scraped up 2 pretty small keepers just in the Pasquotank, and I was like, okay, like I don't think I'm going to be able to catch another fish like I did the day before in the Pasquotank. And I knew I had practiced the North River quite a bit, and I knew I could get bit over there. I just didn't know what the size would be. But my number one problem in that event was just not slowing down enough in practice and not kind of just really picking apart what I thought was bass and I really didn't think was bass at the time, just because I don't know the fishery that well. So you think you're fishing around a lot of gar, a lot of just trash fish, and you don't realize that you're actually throwing at bass that just aren't biting. Maybe they're in the spawning mode or whatever it had be, and they're just, you have to hit a specific spot. And that's what happened on the Pasquotank to me. I ended up having a really good tournament just because I really slowed down in a place that I thought had potential, but I went there on day 2 because it was the only thing I had. Like I knew I wasn't going to get bit where I got bit on day 1. I tried that morning, and then I was like, I'm just going to go fish where I fished a little bit in practice, and I'm just going to like slow down like I've never slowed down before. Just fish every single piece of just little cypress knee, anything in there, because those fish were in a spawning mode. And I knew that in practice, but I just didn't think it was that particular. That water's pretty dirty. I thought if you got it close to one of those fish, they would bite, but that wasn't the case at all. You really had to be like super particular. Like for instance, I threw at one fish on the Pasquotank it was spawning on a cypress tree for, gosh, I don't know, a long time, probably 20 minutes. And I finally hit the perfect spot and it bit. And that just goes to say like how many fish I probably fished past that entire week that you don't even know are there. And it was so hard to see those fish to begin with because that water is so dirty. It fluctuates so much. And they also probably move a lot. So yeah, that was definitely the hardest practice and the most flustered I've ever been for a practice period. I mean, I burned so much gas in the truck just trying different stuff. I mean, at one point, me and Redwine were in Virginia practicing for bass. It was ridiculous.
How long a run would that have been? That'd have been a couple hours.
It would have been like 2 hours probably.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge, massive body of water. I could see how that one can definitely.
That was also the other problem. I wanted to look at everything, and I just didn't. That's probably one place I should have pre-practiced, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of really good details on results.
Right.
On that.
Yeah, history. There's not a lot of history, not a lot of that, so you don't have a lot to go off of. But we made it work.
When you do your research, I mean, you're looking at Bassmaster results, maybe Major League Fishing results and things. Is there anything else that you look at that might be something we're not thinking about? How do you do your research? What are you looking at?
I mean, I look at a lot of Google Earth, Google Maps. That's probably majority of what I do. in regards to the whole like YouTube thing, I only use that as a resource just to like get an idea of like what guys are throwing, maybe, you know, what time of the year, blah, 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 stuff like that. But majority of my like detailed research is all Google Earth. I mean, I'll spend, I don't know how many hours I've spent on Google Earth looking at places. Like for example, the Pasquotank. I mean, just hours and hours and hours on Google Earth trying to see, you know, you can go back in time, you can see where clean water dumps in, if it's dirty, this when it rains, blah blah blah, when it fluctuates, you know, what's a little bit off the bank, if it's that stumpy, this and that. So
Yep, that's a great, amazing resource.
yeah.
At your fingertips. I want to ask you this because we always get this question: how many fish do you catch in practice? Things are changing that way, I imagine, like because you can see so much better what's going on. So I'm thinking you probably need to catch less at practice.
I don't catch many fish in practice.
Okay.
I probably, like, for example, at Hartwell, I maybe boated like 2 bass in practice. But that was mostly, you know, a bed fishing deal for me. That was, you know, so obviously you don't want to catch those fish, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you just want to see them. I mean, that was my main deal there. And I feel like one of my, I guess, more of my techniques that I'm a little bit better at is just fishing around the spawn time of the year. We do it a lot at home, so I feel like I have a lot of good experience doing it here, and it kind of translates to down south. As far as catching them, I mean, Lake Fork, I had to catch Lake Fork. I had to catch a couple nice ones just to get my confidence up a little bit. Honestly, Lake Fork was probably my most concerned event. I had an okay practice, but it was the most concerned event I've ever fished just because I knew I had to catch big ones every single day. Like where the Sabine, you only have to catch 1 or 2. Like Lake Fork, you have to catch 5 every single day. Like that's a lot on your mind. Like you go out, you're like, I need 5 6-pounders. I need 5 5-pounders. You know what I mean? So I had to lean on a few there to at least get my confidence up a little bit.
Right.
But at the same time, like we talked about before, I caught him off a place that I didn't even hardly fish in practice or catch a fish off of. So
yeah, that's interesting. That's fascinating. Less and less fish catches at practice.
Yeah, definitely.
The last couple of tournaments, we got the river coming up, and I'm just reading. We have some people talking about scope and some other things here on the chat board. I think everybody's still very concerned or interested or about what's going to happen with Bassmasters. I guess we're all that out here in the short order. But you got the Mississippi River coming up and Lake St. Clair, right? And what's the third tournament you have?
10 killers before those two, so 10 killers in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is there any reason that we shouldn't pick you on our fantasy fishing team?
No.
I mean, I've never fished 10 killer. I shouldn't say that. Me and Ras went there, actually. Adam Rasmussen went there prior to him taking second and me taking fourth at the Classic that year when we went down to Grand. We just went there for fun for like a half a day and leaned on a couple fish. It was in the springtime. But other than that, no previous experience on 10 killer. Not sure what to expect. I do like the way that it sets up clean water, smallmouth, some largemouth. So I'm hoping it's tougher, but not too tough to get bit. And then St. Clair and Lacrosse, I'm very, very, very excited about those 2 tournaments. St. Clair more than Lacrosse, but Lacrosse, I've had some good events there. I've had some not good events there. I know what I want to look for. I know the way I want to fish. I just have to keep up with the fish there. That's the biggest thing on Lacrosse is if you don't keep up with them, you're not going to catch them, and they move very quickly. So,
when is Lacrosse? What are your dates on Lacrosse? That's in August, right?
Yeah, that's the last week of August, I believe, or second to last week.
Nice.
I got this. Best Kyle Patrick disaster story or of give us something to work with here. We love Kyle.
I got a good one. Actually, just happened at the last tournament. So we all get back together, at the end of the day, discuss how our day went, blah blah blah, and we all sucked pretty bad day one of practice at Sabine. So we were coming up with all sorts of ideas. I mean, we sit around the table and this and that, and Kyle. I mean, Kyle, he don't care. He don't care. I mean, he'll do whatever he's got to do to catch the biggest fish in the system. And props to him. I mean, the guy's got some nerve for that. But anyways, he formulated this game plan that he was going to get back to this particular pond that we could get back to. And, him and Wesley kind of discussed it, and Wesley kind of was at the mouth of where he had to run through. And he's like, Kyle, you don't understand. Like it's 6 inches deep. And Kyle's just like, dude, I don't care. Like, and we're all just sitting around the table like, Kyle, you're not going to get in there. Like, I mean, you could try. I don't know what's going to happen to you or whatever. So fast forward to that morning, it was like 7:30. I had just made a couple casts, maybe 7 o'clock, whatever it was. And I get a call from Wesley, and he's like, Kyle is stuck. And I was like, what? I'm like, I was just laughing about it. I'm like, whatever. And then Wesley's like, no. Like, he's stuck. Like, he's stuck. He's like, he's 5 foot up. He's 5 foot up on an island right now. And I was like, oh, gosh. And this is like 30 minutes into the day. And Kyle hardly has service on his phone. So the way he got a hold of Wesley, he had to try like 10 times just to get a hold of him. And he was like cutting in and out. And he's like, dude, like, I actually need help, like, blah, blah, blah. Luckily enough, Wesley has Kyle on Life 360 in case something happens on the phone to see where his location is. And luckily enough, Wesley knew T-Roy, who had the airboat, who ended up having to come get Kyle. So Kyle sat on that island there on the Sabine for, I think it was 5.5 hours before T-Roy had to come get him with the airboat. And then he proceeded to still make it to the pond he wanted to go fish. he made it there. He didn't catch anything. He put the boat on the trailer. Proceeded to drive to Houston to fish for an hour and a half. Didn't catch anything there, and then came back to the house. And then the next day, he blew up his lower unit. So that was a good Kyle Patrick story.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. I saw some images of him being stuck, and what did he tell you about how he actually got in the pond? What did he take a wrong shoot the first time?
No, so I think he just got like caught up. He got like caught up in a bog or something, and it kind of just turned his boat and just shot him up onto the land. But how he actually got in there, I guess he had 5.5 hours to figure it out on his phone, kind of on Google Earth or whatever, and then he found one little chute or something and blew up 7,000 gallons of mud and got in there and didn't catch anything and came out.
That's going for it. You gotta love it.
Oh, he goes for it. There's no doubt. Man, Not me.
Who's the chef?
You guys have an interesting dynamic in your house there because you're coming from it from all different sides. And I could just
actually,
we could all see Kyle saying like, "No, I'm gonna get in there." Like,
Chef Kyle cooked me some chicken spaghetti one night because that's the first time he's cooked for me, because it was the day on Fork he had a 9-pounder on in practice, and he jumped in to get the 9-pounder and he lost his phone in practice, so I had to give him my phone to get to the AT&T store or wherever the hell he was going to get a new phone. And then that night I'm like, well, the least you can do is cook me dinner. I just let you borrow my phone for 6 hours. And then he cooked me that chicken spaghetti. It was all right. I mean, had a little stomach ache in the morning, but
it was all right. All right. You're an all right cook, Kyle. We got the phone for you.
But yeah, other than that, it's a free for all.
It's it's been great. We've learned a lot. We're diving into, man, just keeping it simple. So many things, man, that we hear over and over. You prepare a lot. Google Earth. You keep it simple. You focus on your strengths and what's in your wheelhouse. These are some tools to get you at the top of the leaderboard. And it's amazing to watch, man. We're really rooting for you. And
nice.
We got 3 tournaments left. You're coming down the home stretch, and we'll be rooting for you, buddy.
We're gonna try. We are gonna try.
All right. Well, we hope to see you hold that big trophy. Either way, it's just an amazing career. You're off to a fantastic start. You're in the conversation, the greatest anglers that have ever competed on Bassmasters. And it's fun to watch, and appreciate you being part of Bass University. Want to invite you guys to go check out all of Kyle's training, all of his courses at Bass U, or Kyle. We got Kyle on the.
Oh, what's up, guys?
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
It's Chef Kyle. What's going on?
Oh no, my name's Jay. Can't catch him. Actually.
Okay.
Is Jay a sandbagger in the house?
Oh, dude, he comes home after a day at the Sabine. He goes. Oh, buddy, I can't find anything. I'm on nothing. And I'm like, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, it's terrible. I can't catch a bass. What the heck? And then I tell Wesley, I'm like, dude, day one, I promise you, Jay's in the top 10. And Wesley's like, 100%. And I'm like, Jay, if you're in the top 10, I get to kick you in the nuts when you walk in the door as hard as I can. And he goes, buddy, I'm not going to be in the top 10. And I'm like, okay. And he walks in the door, and I'm like, he's really good at game time decision making. I've learned. I mean, I've known that, but I've learned no matter what, doesn't matter the tournament, on the water decisions, Jay wins. Jay wins. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're seeing it firsthand, and getting the stories firsthand.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
What do you think that's key? How is he able to make those right decisions? Is it keeping his cool, or is it his demeanor? What do you think?
I know that when I make 90% of the time, or I would say 70% of the time, when I make the right decision on the water, it's because I've got a limit that I'm pretty comfortable with, or mentally you have to really be sharp and not focused on oh my God, it's 11 o'clock and I don't have a fish, which is really easy to do for a lot of anglers. But I think Jay's just stays he's so calm, almost to a fault at times, that he's just able to constantly do that no matter what the situation is. I think that's what it is. I really do. I sometimes, at the St. John's, the day 2 when I zeroed, I knew that there was probably a 70. Well, Jay and Wesley said I think Kyle's gonna zero tomorrow if he goes there, and they didn't tell me that. So, and because my spot was really a hit or miss, but I remember getting there and fishing for an hour and just being completely spun out. And there wasn't much I could do because it was a 2.5 hour run, but I just feel like in those situations I could work on being more calm and really figuring out okay, how do I damage control? And I think Jay's really good at that. That's what I think happens.
You see that a lot. Some of the super. It's funny you're in that conversation, Kyle. With the most of the super talented guys in this sport have Jay's demeanor. You and Ike side, Kyle, which are excellent anglers that are kind of over the top. But most guys are calm like Jay.
That is a recurrent. And Dave Mercer and I talk about this all the time. Like guys like us, it's harder because I'm so energetic and it makes you kind of sometimes the wheels turn a little too fast, which is really good in other aspects of the sport, like the business side and like, you know, networking and stuff like that. But it's not as good on the water, because that's where you need to like kind of slow down, like really slow down, and it's not a go situation always. And in those situations, I sometimes, you know, that's where it can be beneficial though, but it also can really not be beneficial and hurt you. So
Yeah.
yes.
Well, that's a key. I know Mike always blew up, and he would have that eruption, and that helped him get to Jay's level after that. You know, that helped him calm down. But Jay's demeanor's Kyle, hey, you guys both don't pre-practice that much. You guys have that in common. That's pretty interesting. I think a lot of guys.
Well, we can. It's freaking.
Want to practice a lot. You guys don't.
Because it's just financially irresponsible, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
part of it, I would say 50% of it is that, like, you know, dude, I mean, I'm literally driving 25 hours right now. I have to go drop my boat at the Phoenix factory from my idiotic damage I did to it at the Classic, and then driving to New York.
Oh gosh.
Like, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine pre-practicing for, you know, even 2 or 3 out of the 9 events. I mean, if you were to pre-practice 3 events that were away from home, I bet you it would be like $6 to $10 grand.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For Jay and I.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different for us because we're just so far away from everything. Like, it'd be one thing if it was, you know, like, for example, I'll go pre-practice lacrosse because I'm 2 hours from it and I have all summer.
Yeah.
Where, like, I can't go to Lake Tenkiller and just burn 6 days on Lake Tenkiller in April. Like, it isn't really going to do me any good.
Yep. That's it. The hotel room, fuel, the food, everything's so high
Food.
right now that
Dude.
those.
And also, Pete, also, like, I don't know if Jay feels this way, but coming into the elites, I pre-practiced 2 legs, Fork and Toledo, and it did absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
No,
Yeah.
I have that same experience.
I mean, Jay, how many times in practice do you find stuff and then, like, it goes away in 3 days? Like, it's hard to. The event really has to set up perfectly for your pre-practice, like, waypoints and stuff you find to matter the way you want them to. You know.
I mean, the only reason I'll pre-practice is just to go break in my boat for the first tournament of the year, just because I got to get out of the house. Like, for example, I went and pre-practiced Toledo, broke in my boat in January, and then came back in February, and everything I had found, I never fished one single place I found that entire event. Like, where I ended up cashing a check in the tournament, I found that in official practice. Like,
yeah. Well, you guys are exceptional at it, and making, with 2.5 days of practice, you guys are both crushing it. Now, I got to ask you this, Kyle. You know, Jay threw you a little bit under the bus for, you know, being crazy and, you know, getting stuck, you know, 5 feet out of the water at the last tournament.
Yeah.
And other than Jay's obvious sandbagging apparently, give me a security story from the road. You got one?
Oh God, I've got many, but a few of them are inappropriate for this. I'm gonna just, you know, Jay's just. I think it's just a funny dynamic. Like Jay, so Wesley and Redwine, all 4 of us. It's just a funny dynamic. I remember the first tournament, I was just like, dude, I don't know how this is gonna work. Like, what is going on? But now we've kind of settled in, and it's kind of a cool dynamic with, like, Wesley being like, man, blah 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 Southern accent. Jay just being like the most, Wisconsin, like, oh yeah, I'm just not on them. And then like, red wine is a creature. Red wine's a creature. But I don't have a crazy Jay story yet. I mean, I do, but I cannot tell them here. But I don't know if I have a one yet. But hey, Jay, what I do know is you're leading AOY, but after that last event, you've got another Northern boy right on the tail, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Chris Johnson's not to be messed with.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Did you talk about that already?
No, I didn't.
What?
Yeah. No, it's just interesting how much the Sabine shook up the points. Up, like, especially, well, in general. I mean, people moved like 40 places in AOY at that tournament. And like the guys in the top 10, like, I would have said to you that Jay was guaranteed going to win AOY. But with Chris and Trey McKinney, not right on the coattails, but like in that running, it's going to make it more stressful for Jay. Going into the Northern swing. It is. It just is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at those standings right now, and I don't mean to relax you in any way, but you've got a 42-point lead. I'm sure over Chris.
Yeah.
And that is massive lead.
It is massive.
Deal. Yeah.
It is massive. There's no doubt about it.
Everybody's bunched. Like you've got the killers, right? You got Johnston, you got Fajita, McKinney. They're all Will Davis having a great year. Patrick Walters, and of course Bill Lowen's he's in striking.
When is he not in the top 10?
Right, he's a killer. Yeah, but you have a really amazing lead. It's not common to see that big of a lead right now. So but Johnson he's so consistent too. I don't know. I like your odds. I think you're in great position. Who wouldn't want to be 40 points in the lead with 3 tournaments left?
All right.
Seriously.
That's freaking that's fantastic.
Pretty cool.
Well, so Kyle, what are you gonna do about this crack you just took about cooking an average chicken and pasta dinner for Jay? Just average.
Oh, come on. He texted me, he said, "Do you have extra food?" I said, "Jay, for you, anything." And then now he's complaining about it?
No. We have to talk about why you made me that dinner.
Why?
Oh, come on, Kyle.
Did I eat something of yours?
I let you borrow my phone for like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah. That is exactly why. You're right. I dropped that was a ridiculous. I'll be honest. I think for Fork and Sabine, I practiced for those events. We have 3 days. I think I practiced for a total of like 10 hours for each of those events because it was just like unbelievable bad luck in practice every day. Every day.
Was it luck?
I was landing my so Fork practice was not good. Those weights were insane compared to what the practice was.
Were.
I mean, seriously, like I caught 8 or 9 fish the whole practice. And I think Jay probably the same, similar.
Yeah.
And like it just like I don't know whether it just got really good during the tournament or what happened there. But like so and with that, I was landing a 5-pounder and I was trying to be sneaky about it. And actually Chris Johnson was next to me. I'm like, I went to go lean over really carefully and my phone fell out of my pocket and I just went to go grab it, fell in with all my rain gear on and and the rod in my hand. And so I'm in the water in practice. Chris is laughing and filming and I literally have the rod in my left hand, the fish in my right hand, and I'm just trying to look for my phone, and it went to the bottom. So I had to borrow Jay's to go to the Verizon store. So I did cook him a meal for that.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
A kind of a good meal. That's great. Well, that's very generous of you.
Yeah. No, I'm a generous guy.
Yeah. And we look forward to working with you, Kyle. We're going to see you in a few weeks up at your house and doing some on one of the Finger Lakes.
Yep, I'm excited for that. Man, I'm excited to catch a 4-pound largemouth or something bigger than 2.5.
What was your biggest Sabine fish out of the 7 days you were there? 6 days, I guess.
Oh yeah, day one, my biggest Sabine fish came in the first 5 minutes on a jig. It was a 1 pound. Well, it hovered between 1 pound 14 ounces and 1 pound 15.
That's a stud.
It was a stud. It was a stud. Giant.
Man, that's.
Oh, Jay, you caught like a big old Sabine River.
I caught a 3-pounder.
Holy smokes, dude. That is a
3 on the nuts.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hey, Kyle, appreciate you chiming in with us, giving us the skinny, letting us know that Jay's a sandbagger in the house. We appreciate that.
Yeah. And you know what's messed up? I don't think he's a sandbagger. I just genuinely think he does it like during the tournament. But I'm gonna put like an air tag in his boat or something one of these days and figure out what his real deal is during practice.
Oh, dude, I think about that. I bet you that's going on out there right now, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Sure.
Yeah, people are up to something. Well, Jay, have a here, Kyle. It's awesome. You're having an amazing career as well. Thanks so much for giving us a shout. Good luck down there at the Phoenix factory. Hopefully they can put you back together.
Oh, they will. Thanks, guys. See you, Jay.
Yeah.
Good boys.
And Jay, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We're gonna be rooting for you. Appreciate you hanging out with us, being part of Bass U, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. And you seem to have a super knack for this, and I want to wish you the best rest of the season.
All right, thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. We'll catch up with Jay Security very, very soon. Once again, I want to invite you guys to go check them out on Bass U TV, as well as Kyle Patrick. Great instruction from two of the best, really, that are getting it done out on tour right now. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We got some cool stuff coming up right after this with some more Bass University Live right after this.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Right here, AquaView, mandatory equipment in my boat. I say it all the time. The smallmouths hide in the cracks in the rocks, and just saw a little bit of the same kind of rock with the cracks in it. And I realized that I had to put a bait down there. You wouldn't, idle over them and see them on your screen. You had to put a bait down there and suck them out of the rock. So, AquaView, big assist on this one.
And outdoors Bassmaster Classic champion,
Coffee. The angler's ritual. A reason to leave your cozy covers, even if you aren't headed to the river. We started Angler's Coffee because, well, we love to fish, we love coffee, and we care. Think of it as the rise before the rise.
All a challenge. The original Element rods were really Cashin's first launch, kind of in a price point level. With that, we got a lot of feedback.
And that's what brought about the Element Z2 and its launch.
the most affordable American-made rod on the market.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.
All right, welcome back to Bass U Live. I'm your co-host with Pete's Chair, and thanks everybody for tuning in and supporting the show every single week. For God's sake, somebody else come on here and talk with me a little bit. Justin, Jocelyn, maybe somebody join me. Right now, I'm having a conversation with a chair. So, what are you doing?
Sorry about that, guys. I had to go dig up some Angler's coffee and get a fresh cup.
There you go.
That was pretty cool stuff. It was really fun when Kyle chimes in. Neat to see the interaction between those two, just crushing it out on the road. But speaking of crushing it, kudos to you, Justin, for crushing fantasy. You're
it's nothing new here.
You pulled ahead again. We both had a miserable fantasy, but not as miserable as Jocelyn and Rich had.
I forgot.
Yeah, but I would have had Pat Dog, Slap Daddy. He would have been on my team for sure.
I'm sure he would have been.
Well, Justin and I both picked Hunter Shryock. We were, we love working with Hunter at Bass U, and we're going to be doing some stuff with him. So we both picked him, and he was our top dog. I think he was 11th down there.
Yeah, he was 10th, tiebreaker 10th for the top 10, and he missed out on it.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was tiebreaker. I think biggest fish, I believe. It's either, or unless one of the guys didn't catch a limit one of the days, I think that can be one of the tiebreaker for like fish caught. But I think it was biggest fish.
Okay.
So Hunter was in 10th, but lost out on the tiebreaker.
That sucks.
Yep. Well, good finish. Amazing finish for Hunter anyway. And I just couldn't believe it as I started doing the research to find out about all the great names that had top 10 starts to their careers. And Jay's right there hanging pace with all of them, keeping pace. Really cool. Really fun. And to look at the stats on John Cox, who's arguably really having the best 3 years in a row in the last 3 years. And pretty cool. Did you happen to look up Patrick Walter's top 10s, Justin?
I looked it up, but I have no idea where you find the Angler of the Year results from the previous years.
You don't have the Chat GPT skills that I have.
Nope, I don't. I don't got the TikTok or Chat GPT skills you have, Pete.
I know. Well, not everybody can be cutting edge like
I know.
But we'll go check that out. I want to give a shout out to Dave Riley and the Michigan Outdoorsman and all the guys over there on the chat board. There's some questions about one question I saw about chatterbait. We're chatterbait tip crazy right now, but I can tell you this. Well, here's a tip: is we were Jake and I fished the SFT tournament, the Summer Slam, and we caught a lot of our fish on chatterbaits. And Jake outperformed me on the chatterbait numbers on our tournament, and I didn't realize this, but he was throwing the Evo, right? And he got
the original.
The what's that?
Was it the tungsten or the original?
It was the original. He was throwing in, and it has, they're talking about it has a signature sound, right? A unique sound, and it's different from the others, as they all do. They all have a sound, and there it is. And that he got, I don't know, 4-1 over, and I was throwing the jackhammer that day. So he really got the numbers going with the Evo. So that's pretty interesting. on a heavily pressured situation, a tough bite, going for a unique sound, and catching them pretty good. So there's my jackhammer chatterbait tip for the week is you want to you get kind of pigeonholed into using that one tool, and you got to recognize that those others they're not just different, man. They give you a different vibration and a different sound. And they're all available over there at Tackle Warehouse. Make sure you click on that and get it done. But
this thing put some fish in the boat for me this weekend, Pete. The Mini Max. And
oh yeah.
Ultimately they weren't fish that did anything for us, but under the conditions, it was not super easy to catch keepers. And the Mini Max again did a little bit of that. And sometimes it can be, if you wrap just a mere keeper around your bag when you got a pair of 5s and a pair of 4s in there, that keeper can matter. So
that smaller profile is a good choice, Bubba.
Yeah, well, hey, Bubba, it was good enough for catch me my smallest limit I've ever weighed in on the Chesapeake Bay. But at about 11:15 a.m., when I did not have a keeper in the boat, I was pretty convinced I wasn't going to catch a keeper at all for the day. So
no, well, that was a good job. And thanks and congratulations for a successful tournament for the boys at Susquehanna. What a great turnout. Well, Jocelyn, we didn't give away one, but we gave away 2 cash rods.
Sure did. Thanks to Jocelyn, guys. One of our lucky newsletter folks or subscribers had a chance to win 2 amazing Cash and Icon rods. So, shout out to Corey. He ended up being the winner. Corey, make sure you write a nice long email to Jocelyn, because if it wasn't for her, you would not have 2 brand new Cash and Fishing rods. So congratulations, Corey. Everybody, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, if you're not a Bass Shoe member, get signed up for the newsletter. We're doing tons of cool giveaways and awesome fishing tips over there. And, who knows what Jocelyn might pull out of the bag of tricks next for you to win. So stay tuned on that. And congratulations, Corey.
Yeah, we might have a cool fishing reel giveaway coming.
Let's give away 4,
Jocelyn, we got 4 of those?
Nope.
Well, look for us to be giving away that stuff. The newsletter also keeps you up to date on what's happening at Bass U, all of our new releases, all of our seminars that are upcoming. That's all great details that you can get over at the Bass University newsletter. So that being said, is there anything else, any other housekeeping issues we got to talk about, guys?
Yeah. If you're not a Bass U member, custom AFCO sun shirt, Bass U branded. Get you some sun gloves too and a neck gaiter when you join for an annual limited edition.
That's
AFCO sun shirt.
That's a good deal right there. That is a good deal, because we're coming into sun shirt season.
We got
nothing else. I won in fantasy. We all sucked at fishing this weekend. Susquehanna Fishing Tackle, boy, do they ran a great event, I've heard. That's all I got.
Very good. And guys, we gave away 2 cash-ins. If you didn't win, get over to the pro member benefits. We have an amazing opportunity for you guys to get a discount on cash and fishing rods over there on our pro member benefits. So go check that out, guys. Amazing rods that you guys can all be very, very successful with. I really love the Element rod. Want to check that out. This is a rod that's coming in at about $100 to $120 price point, and it's amazing actions, consistency, and performance, light, sensitive, all the things you want in a great bass rod. Jake and I are really spending a lot of time with the Elements, especially we're using them with our chatterbaits this past weekend. So go check that stuff.
Moving, I just saw they're moving their shop.
Is that right?
Yeah, they just announced it. I don't know how far from the original one, but
okay.
Still in Sanford, so it can't be that far. But
moving across town, upgrading
Yeah.
to bigger and better things. That's good.
Yep.
Congratulations to cashing on that, guys. And welcome Thump Gel. Guys, get you some Thump Gel. It's going to help you catch that one extra fish. It's going to make you a better angler. I love that. We're in the business of helping people get better and have better experiences on the water. And Thump Gel is something that's really going to help you be able to catch a few more fish or one more fish or get that fish to commit that you see, that you're seeing on your sonar. That's the nature of Thump Gel, and it's going to stay on your baits longer than you can imagine, which is going to help you throughout the course of your fishing day. So thanks for that, Humminbird and Minn Kota. We appreciate you guys. We're going to be we just released Tyson Alvano's seminar on sonar operation. I want to invite you guys to go check that out. Tyson comes from a military sonar training background and really dives into how sonar works and how you can use it effectively yourself. And I'm talking about 2D down imaging, side imaging, the basics of sonar operation, which if you're new to it, or you just need to upgrade, reboot your knowledge of how things are working and how you can get the most out of your sonar units, you definitely want to go check that out. We just released that on Bassy TV. So go check that out, guys, and get yourself signed up. This is a great time to involve with Bass University. School yourself up to get through these post-spawn and summertime patterns. They're all red hot, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the water. Hope you're getting a chance to get out there and do that, and we will definitely be doing that too. We'll be back next week with another edition of Bass University Live. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.